Hello, everyone. Andy Schwab here with your Northern Ag TV as we're continuing the coverage here at the Billings Kubota with the KGHL, our flagship station of Northern Ag Network, on this week's of Farm Safety and Health Week. And with us now, of course, the director of the Montana Agricultural Safety Program with the Montana Farm Bureau Federation, Dana Jansen. And Dana, you know, you and I had the opportunity to talk a little bit earlier about this is a busy time for a lot of producers. I don't care if you're talking about with cattle guys or guys that are trying to get that last crop out of the field. Sugar beet producers are going, all out right now. But what's the main message for these producers right now when they're just going as full speed as possible?
Yeah, and I think, it's easy to get wrapped up in everything that needs done because there are so many things, and we know that the snow is going to fly here before much longer. And so just reminding yourself to take some time and think about what's going on around you, what needs done. Maybe write it down on a to-do list and, take stock of what really needs done and prioritize and consider those things that can go wrong. Because really it's all about just acknowledging that what we do is risky. There's a lot of things that are outside of our control, and we're going to control what we can, but at the end of the day, there's still some things that we're just going to have to say, yep, this is a dangerous line of work.
Absolutely is. And, one thing that we think about when we start talking about this time of year is the fall run. Cattle guys trying to get those cattle to the sale barn as fast as possible. What's the message to those guys that are hauling those cattle to those markets right now?
Yeah, so make sure you put yourself in a position to haul those $3 and $4 calves to the barn. One wreck turns into a really expensive mistake. This isn't, the 50-cent calves that some of us were used to selling. And so, check your tires, check your brakes, make sure all of your lights work, make sure you've got enough people to help you load them and get them corralled, make sure your facilities can handle it, and really just, slow down and think through everything that you're doing before you start.
Absolutely. Well, right now too, we see a lot of folks. They got the kids on the farm, and so they come back for the weekend from school, anyways. And they might be at that age that it's just real difficult for them to do everything that an adult can do. What's your message for those folks that are having those young kids like you and your husband in your guys' operation?
Yeah, boy, it's tough. That's why we all do it. We do it for that legacy of the next generation. But there are some things that we just have to accept that is too much for those kids to handle, and so we shouldn't put them in situations that they're not equipped to handle everything that could potentially go wrong. So making sure that we're choosing appropriate tasks. Maybe they come down and help, but there's a safe place for them to be out of the way. Maybe they're not actually in with the cows or helping work the calves. They're bringing snacks or bringing bottles of water, or they're sitting in the pickup making sure that the radio stays on and that the seats don't fly away. But making sure that there's something for them to do that makes them feel like they're part of the operation, but doesn't put them in a position that, we could potentially have problems later.
That's what my parents were making me do when I was a kid. I get it now. That's great. Well, as we wrap up here, this is what we said, Farm Safety and Health Week. I mean, health along with safety is something to keep in mind. Mental health, a thing that you have to keep top shape for these producers nowadays.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mental health is just one part of our physical health. And when we're not doing okay mentally, it's really hard to be okay physically. And that's when we start to maybe do some riskier things and not think through things all the way before we do it. So, take time to check in, make sure that you're checking in on yourself, on your family, and on your neighbors.
Absolutely. Once again, Director of the Montana Ag Safety Program at the Montana Farm Bureau Federation, Dana Jansen. That's going to wrap us up here on our Northern Ag TV. I'm Andy Schwab. Have a great rest of your day.
From the beginning, we've worked closely with farmers. BNSF's ties to the agricultural community go back 175 years. Together, we've innovated to make the U.S. agriculture supply chain one of the most efficient and productive in the world. Our strong relationship powers BNSF still today and helps us move the nation like no one else can. At BNSF, we move the nation for you.